Hi guys. Okay, so I was actually gifted this. It's a big beef rump heart. I was gifted it at Christmas, and it weighs, well, it did weigh. We actually cut 2 steaks off it last night for dinner, and it's really gorgeous. It's 5.5 kilograms, and believe it or not, that's been sitting in the fridge for 2 days, and it still hasn't thawed out fully. But today I would just want to get the rest of it, because I actually broke the seal, and I want to get out of there, get it trimmed up, and my intention is to pressure can some of it. But I also want some more steaks cut off it, and there's quite a lot of blood down in that bag there. So I'm just going to take this over to the sink and try and drain that blood off, and then I'll be back. There we go. I just want to give my hands a wee bit of a wash before I start. The steaks I cut off this last night were a bit big, so I think I could reduce the size a little bit, and I've just went ahead and put some parchment down on a baking tray. I'm going to flash freeze them, and looking at this, I'm going to go to the shorter side, and we don't like our meat too thick, so try and get down into that. And that's going to be a nice size of a steak. Some people like them a lot bigger, but to be honest, we're not a lot into red meat, so I want to, maybe I'd be better taking that fat off before I start cutting anymore. Wash my hands again and get my deboning knife, and all these cloths will be going straight into the wash, and I'll have to sanitize the counter down after this. Okay, so I'm just going to try and scrape this off as best I can. And it's still freezing cold. Try and get as much of that fat off as I can. And change your stance whenever you're working with it, I guess. You don't have to fight with it. You pull all that horrible skin cap off. Use the point of your knife again. And you hear that skin? You don't want that. And so you just keep pulling away. And I'm going to actually cut that off now, because I reckon I can get my steaks off that bit. And I'll deal with that bit in a while. That's that big long bit of gristly skin. Don't want to fire that over there. And this is the first one I cut. I like a bit of fat on mine, so I'm going to leave some with a bit of fat on them. If my other half got a bit of fat, he would actually be sick. So I want to just try and cut it as thinly slices into steak. Okay, come you off, and that's a nice piece of steak there. I'll just tidy that up and just cut that away. As I say, if he bit into that, he wouldn't be happy. You just trim back what you don't want on it, and that's another nice steak. 2, and a wee bit of fat on that one will be fine. So there's 6 steaks, and I'm just going to wash my hands and put that straight into the freezer. I'm going to put my jars on the clean bit of the counter here. I just ran them through the dishwasher. I haven't took the stew root on that one off. And because these are a bigger size jar, I can only fit 6 into my canner. So 6 jars is better than none. And this is going to be cold pack, so I don't need to heat anything. And I'm going to continue cutting some more of this here up and chunking it. So I'll cut it a wee bit thicker and trim all the fat off. And there's a bit in the bottom there, it doesn't want to cut with this, so must be a different, it's running a different way. And I'm just going to cut this horrible white stuff off and just check out. There's another bit there. You don't want that. And any of those wee bits will be fine. So what I'm going to do is chunk this up, don't want it too thin, and put a layer in the bottom, just enough what I think would do for the 2 of us for meat. For one dinner. And I reckon 2 slices would be what we would need to eat. So and I don't want to cut this down too small because it will get smaller. It'll shrink when it's been cooked. And that's 1 slice. And the kitchen's nice and cold here today, so I wouldn't want this sitting out in a hot temperature. And say there's that bottom bit that doesn't want to play ball with me. I'll just trim off any of this white. And what I might do is actually trim down those little bits and, or sorry, not trim them down, cook them off and give them to the dogs just as little treats. Something I guess would run through my dogs, so you don't want to be giving them big quantities of meat like this. And you might think it's atrocious cutting rump steak up for dinners like this when it should primarily be used as a steak, but to be honest, we're not big massive steak eaters, and this is going to work out more benefit to me. I'm going to cut that bottom bit off and I'll tidy that all up and just keep going. This is better in jars and in odd steaks than lying in the freezer doing nothing. And cut those horrible bits off. And another bit there. Don't want any of that in there. I want it as lean as I can get it. And I reckon that big slice would be enough for one jar. And cut it in bits. So this will be like stewed steak. Me off. And cutting into pretty big chunks. And there's a big bit of right down the side of that. Don't want that in there. And I'm no expert butcher, but we all have to learn somewhere, don't we? Get the knife underneath that and just be careful with your fingers. Cut that off. It's just going to be tough. And that's where these boning knives are really good, because they're good and sharp. You just trail it along that, get rid of it. And along there. And it should be enough of that. So, another wee bits in here. Okay, so you've got the general idea. I'm going to wash my hands and turn the camera off and get the rest of these done. And then I'll be back. I've got what I need for the jars, so I reckon I'm going to cut that big bit into more steaks. And I need to trim through all that. So what I'm going to do is get rid of all that and get this in the sink. Sanitize this area. I can actually just leave that there for now. And I want some cling wrap for this. I'll put that near any meat juices and just give that a cover, and I can cut that up later. Just needs to go back in the cold. It doesn't matter about these ones because these are going in the canner. So. And I'll just throw this in the back fridge with a clean cloth. Just give this worktop a good clean down. And I know there's been nothing near the jars, so I'm all on the workboard. I use this 99.9% bacteria, and just pour it on as a hand one, but it does the job. And it smells like alcohol. Just give that a good clean, and then I'll give my hands a good wash again before I do anything else. I'll just let the rest of that dry in. And it'll dry away in no time. Okay, so just get my hands washed. The onions I already had chopped up and stuck them in the freezer just so they don't go bad. And just give them a good bash on the counter. I'll just break them up. And get my canning funnel. I reckon I want about a quarter cup. No, sorry, half cup. So, a good half cup. That's about how much. It's gone into each one. These will all break down. So, we're getting a good half cup. I might actually put another wee bit in. That's half a cup. And just put a little bit more in each one, because we love our onions. And not matter that these are frozen. These are going in from cold pack into a cold canner. And by the time they get up the temperature and everything else, they'll be defrosted. And this is all self-taught, believe it or not. If you're going to do canning, just do your own research and follow the rules as much as you can. And I'll throw these back in the freezer. I went ahead and cut up some carrots and parsnips, and I'm going to put half cup of carrots, or just a bit less than half a cup. And I've only got a few left there, so just divide them between them. A bit more in there. And I've got parsnips here as well. Half a cup of parsnips. And I'm just pushing that down. And push them in. That's it. And I've got a few extra here, so I might get a few in there. And a few in there. And there. And if it comes to the bit to have to take a few out, so be it. Actually, I'll leave those couple and see if I can get them in a wee while. Okay, so that's our meat, our onions, our carrots and our parsnips. I reckon that would take about a teaspoon of salt in each one, just a level teaspoon. Actually, I'm going to reduce that a wee bit. Bring you out and put you in there. I'm going to take it down to half a teaspoon. And just retrieve a bit. That's what happens with canning. Just a wee half teaspoon. I'll put some in there, but I'll put another wee bit. Because the bouillon powder I'm going to use is probably quite salty. And I can also always add more salt, but it's better to err on the side of caution. And I'm also going to do a half a teaspoon of black pepper. And what else do I want in here? I want beef bouillon. And it's just this Knorr beef stock. Oh, that's a gorgeous smell. So I'm going to put a tablespoon in each one. That's a tablespoon of bouillon. I forgot to get my celery seed. Celery gives that a lovely flavour. So I'm going to put a good half teaspoon. And I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt. 6. Just for a wee extra bit of flavour. And let me just recap to see if I'm missing anything. So we've got our meat, we've got our onions, we've got bouillon, we've got salt, we've got pepper, and I've got celery seed, and there's something else. Garlic powder. We're going to put a teaspoon of garlic powder. Not a heaped one, just, I don't want it too garlicky. And that is all flavour spice wise. That's all I want to put in there. And I'm going to get just ordinary tap water. I'm just going to fill up with water and try and get those spices down in. I should have put the spices on top of the meat, and I aim to leave an inch headspace. It smells good already in there, all those spices. So I'm just bringing it up to near the inch, and then we're going to debubble, clean the tops, and get them into a cold canner. And I've only been canning for a couple of years now, and I love it. And so much you can do, and there's so much to learn, and I'm still learning. But the main thing is not take any chances. If you're not sure about something, ask somebody that knows. I never presume to know that, or to think that I know everything. There's always somebody that's got more knowledge than. It's a simple question. Okay, so I just grabbed 6 rings and 6 clean new lids. These haven't been used before, but I have used lids the second time, and they've worked out okay for me, but that's everybody's prerogative. Oops, that's another project I haven't to go there behind. They're just sealing. So let me see how that goes down in a wee debubble. You just want to make sure you get right down to the bottom, right round to the jar, and then down in the centre. And just get my little scraper, and I want to scrape all that down in again. There's no point in putting spices in and it all coming out again. Okay, set you there. Need more water. Another one pinging there in the background, and this is going to be an inch headspace, so that's from here to here. I need to leave, and that just needs a slight little bit of water. You don't want to bring it up too high, because that's it. There's a bit of fat in that meat, and if you make your headspace not right, then you have a tendency of the likelihood is the fat and the air trying to escape will lift your lid up and it won't seal. So I'm just cleaning around the tops of this really well with vinegar solution, just ordinary vinegar, sorry, and to give it a good clean. Check your lids, put your lid on, put your ring on, finger tight, which to me is finger, 2 fingers, 1 thumb, and that's it. And same with every jar, just push everything down. Pull in from the sides and then go into the centre. And I'm going to scrape down again. I should have remembered that. It's a good idea to put your spices in the middle. But it's no biggie. And 1 inch headspace again, so and actually that one's just about dead on, just needs the slightest little bit. Give it a good clean with the cloth. Just your vinegar, just to get that fat of the meat off the top, which I know it didn't hit the sides anyway. Just check your lids on. And some of these bands just don't want to play ball with me. That's that. 3-finger tight. I'll do another one and then I'll do the rest of them off camera. Push all that loveliness down in. Sorry for squeaking there, guys. You're basically just moving everything so that there's no air bubbles can get stuck in there. And scrape this down again. All your flavour back in. Check headspace. Needs up slightly. And if you leave too little headspace, the chances is, or sorry, too much headspace, the chances is it might not seal either. So okay, check your lid, band, and finger tight. Okay, so I'll get the rest of these done off camera and I'll bring you back when I'm putting them in the canner. Okay, so that's actually another project I was doing today, but that'll be on a separate video. So this canner was warm, but it's cold now. So I'm just gonna check the water is up to the first line, which is 3 litres, and it's gone down there quite a bit with steam canning. So just make sure you adjust your water. And you want it on that first line. You can just feel it. If you run your finger down, you'll feel the indentations. There's little lines right up there. Yep, that's 3 litres. And I've got my rack in the bottom. You don't want to put your jars straight onto the bottom of the canner, or the chances are they could break. I'm going to get these 6 in. They look nice. That's the problem with the shape of these jars. I'm going to get 6 in here. And it's a matter of turning them round because they're not exactly circular. So try and leave a little bit of room between them. And okay, so just a bit of vinegar I had left. I'm just going to dump that in there. I'll keep any deposits from forming on the jars. And just going to move that to light it again. Turned on, be a good help. And just get the cask going. And I'm going to keep that down low at the minute. Just make sure it's centered. and there's a slight overhang here, but majority of the weight's on this side, so I'm not too bothered about that. I don't believe in this anyway, so alright, so same principle as before. Always check your gasket and check your lock switch is tight. This little pop-up switch, just catch it both sides and twist it, make sure it's tight, and make sure you can see daylight through your, so you just look towards the window and I can see perfect daylight there. So okay, even your arrows up, narrow here, narrow here. You feel it popping down, and then just push down and pull the handles together. Alright, and I'm going to turn the heat up now to medium high. I don't go any higher than that, just past medium high. And I'm going to wait until the pressures or the water gets warm and the steam starts coming out of the vent pipe here. And once I get a constant stream of steam, then I'll put the timer on for 10 minutes, let it steam for 10 minutes, and then I'll put my 10-pound pressure weight on here. And once I get up to 10 pounds of pressure here, my little jiggler will start moving, and it's only at that stage that I'll set the timer for 90 minutes. These are liter jars, so processing time for raw meat and vegetables is 90 minutes. Alright. Okay, so this has been going for, I want to say, about 40 minutes, and I'm starting to get steam there. So I want it to be a bit taller before I actually time it for 10 minutes. It's constant stream of steam there. And I'm going to set a timer now for 10 minutes. And that's the canner pushing all the air up out. So, Alexa, set a timer for 10 minutes, please.
10 minutes, starting now.
And after the 10 minutes, I'll be putting my 10-pound weight on, the jiggler weight. And as soon as I put the weight on, this little lock switch will pop up. The back plug has already popped up because there's not much steam pressure in the canner. Okay, so that's the 10 minutes off, letting off steam, and just make sure you've got your 10 pounds weight on. Just set that on, and this is immediately going to pop up. Sorry, Alexa, off please. So now I'm going to watch the gauge, and once it gets up to near the 10 pound mark, my little jiggler will start moving, and I'll bring you back when that happens. So once this starts to rock and stays rocking, then I'll start to reduce the gas. Turn it down in very small increments. You don't want that to stop rocking. If that stops rocking, then you have to start the whole timer over again. Get it back up to back up to a constant rock. So that's starting there now, but that's going to be too much for a rock. So I'm going to start and turn the gas down just slight little degrees. And Alexa, start a timer for 90 minutes, please.
1 hour and 30 minutes, starting now.
And I just checked the clock, and it's just almost 5:30. So it's a good idea to have 2 independent timers going. If your electric goes off, then you've lost your other timer. And I'll keep it in my head the time it's on the clock there. So this is going to go for an hour and a half, and fingers crossed my gas won't run out. If that happens, it'll be a disaster, but if you're canning and the likes that happens, just let everything cool down and start and reprocess again. It's a bit of a bummer, but the odd time it can happen. And that's jumping about like mad there, you see. So just turn it down ever so slightly, and you can get it regulated that it'll just do like a constant little spray. It takes a wee bit of practice. That's called the sweet spot. So if you can find the sweet spot, see the way it's jiggling so much there, it's actually letting a lot of steam, which is the water. It's letting it out. So if it's rocking too much and letting too much steam out, you could run dry. So you say don't turn your gas down too much at once, or that could stop. So I put a wee mark here on the dial, and I don't go anywhere below that. If I go below that, the chances are that it will fall below 10 and the jiggler will stop. So if I'm turning it down, I just turn it in little small movements, and as long as everything keeps moving, then we're good. How long's left in the timer?
We have 1 hour and 6 minutes left, and 1 hour and 30 minutes time.
So we have another hour and 6 minutes, so I'm happy with that, and I won't be turning it any further down. I can go to the other room and have my dinner and still hear that noise. So bring it back when it's finished, guys. Alexa, off. Basically all I'm going to do is turn the heat off completely, and the jiggler will stop pretty quick. And I'll turn the gas off down here at the cylinder. And you can see the jiggler starting to slow down already. So that will come to a stop, and then I'll just wait until I hear this lock falling down. And once the lock falls down and I can move the jiggler about, I'll lift the jiggler off, because I'll know there's no pressure left in there, and then I'll part the handles and set a timer probably for about 10 minutes, and then take the lid off and lift the jars out. Okay, bring you back at that stage. Okay, so at this stage I was tired and had changed into my PJs. So I was just checking, the lock switch is dropped there and the gauge has gone down to 0, and I just put my finger on top of the weight, moved it gently, and there's no noise coming from it, so it's safe to lift it off. And I'm just going to part the handles and just leave it sitting for 5 minutes. It just gives the jars a wee bit of time to get acclimatized. It's not that suction pressure there. And that's me back after the 5 minute timer hammered off, and just going to lift the lid off, and always make sure you lift it away from yourself. There's a lot of steam in there. You don't want to get that round your face. And now I get to lift these beauties out. I'm always quite nervous at this stage. Bishop of those wide mouth. I feel a bit shaky just lifting them with those grippers for some reason. I don't know why, but I'll get them all out anyway. You know, just taking my time there because of the shape of the jars. I just don't want them to hit against each other. And just transferring them over onto a dry towel. You can see me taking my time. And there's not as nice as the feeling of lifting the jars out and just anticipation for the next morning, just to see if they've sealed. I think that's the last one coming out there. And they might not be too pleasing looking to the eye, but I can assure you we've had this since, and absolutely gorgeous. Just seconded up a wee bit of gravy. And they might not be too pleasing looking to the eye, it's just a little bits of meat up the side of the jars, but that doesn't bother me. As long as I know the contents inside are lovely. So I'm just showing a wee bit of there was a bit of siphoning there, so it means the liquid volume in the jars had went down a little bit, and I reckoned it was the back too, but you'll see in a wee while what all the jars look like. Okay guys, so these have been sitting all night, haven't moved them at all, still in my pyjamas here. Just want to see how they've done. I'll do the tap test, and it sounds like they've all sealed. So just take the band off, lift it by the lid, and just make sure we put the weight on the lid, it's not coming away from the jar. You know they've sealed. And I'm actually surprised the amount of siphoning come out of those. But if there had been less liquid left in them, I probably would have considered reprocessing. You can see how far down the liquid's gone. As long as this hasn't gone any further down. If it went down to half, I would be worried about storing that. But because it's still up this height, I feel fine that it's going to be absolutely fine. So what I'm going to do now is, you've seen that before, so I'm just going to wash these off over in like lukewarm soapy water. I'll just stick stewed steak on here and the date, and they'll be going straight out the back on the shelf. So we've got 6 pints and they look good. It should be nice and tasty. And a wee quick dinner. Just come in, empty the contents of this into a saucepan, heat it up, and have some mashed potato on the go. And there you have, just thicken the sauce up a bit. Alright. So I'm happy enough for those. Okay, so hope you enjoyed this wee canning video, guys. If you like this video, as always, just hit the thumbs up button, helps my channel greatly. YouTube algorithm is hard to get a fathom with, so any help is much appreciated. Alright, you all have a good day, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye for now.